So, hello and welcome to Garblag Games. This is our session 0 of Star Trek Lower Decks. We'll be using the second edition rules for this. I'm Richard, I'm the Games Master, and I will quickly go through our group. Since they don't have characters, getting them to introduce themselves as we would normally is a bit daft. So, Janet, remind me what you had in mind for your character.
My character will be an ensign security officer who is the niece of a grown-up character I have played in Star Trek.
And species
and I am a Cation.
Yeah. So same as Dr. Ta'ana in Lower Decks. Cat person. Humanoid cat.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, Nick, we were discussing a little on the Discord. You were saying something about Vulcan. Had you any thoughts beyond that?
No, not really. I tend to pick what we need. If there's a gap we need filling, I don't know the game super well. I picked Vulcan because, everyone likes Spock, and because I've actually got pointed ears. So
oh, well.
That's the main factor.
Fair enough. I'll come back to you then. So we've got security. Roger.
So I think I want to play the medical officer or medical ensign.
Yeah.
But I've no idea about what species to play as yet.
No worries. I actually have been thinking about this in between time, and there are some species. First edition to second edition isn't too much of a stretch to translate species, especially. So I've written down some of the species from Lower Decks as additions to what I put on the Discord. So no problem. So we've got medic, security. Rupert, had you had any thoughts?
Yeah, I was thinking about going with engineering or science. I can do either, really. I think it would be whichever is best to complete the group, I think. And species, I thought I'd go with Bajoran.
Okay. Bajoran, I believe, is in the book. They are in.
It was in the list that you.
Yes, that'd be why they were in the book. Yeah. Okay, so any preference between science and engineer? And same question to Nick, because there are others as well, obviously, but
I'll take the one out of them two that you don't want, Rupert. Out of what did you say? Science and engineer.
Yeah. I'll go with engineering because.
Okay. I'll go with science then.
No problem. I mean, you can also be something like a command ensign or a pilot, things like that. But you're not limited to those. But they're obviously the options. Okay. So first stage, you got a bit of an idea of what you want to play. So does everybody have the character sheet in front of them, either digitally or printed out?
Yeah.
Right. So having a bit of scratch paper is useful for this. You can probably get away with it with the digital form fillable character sheet, but sometimes having a bit of paper is useful. So the first stage is species. Now, everyone starts with a rating of 7 in each attribute. So those being control, fitness, presence, daring, insight, and reason. And 1 in each of the departments. So command, engineering, medicine, con, security, and science.
Mm-hmm.
And then we pick your species. So let's quickly, when I remember to go into the right place, I've had a folder of stuff that I put onto my this PC so that I had them all to hand. So I'll handle Jan first because Jan's playing a Cation, which is an unusual one. So when you decided to get the start up, I did add onto the Discord in a new channel you should have access to for Lower Decks, a list of the focuses, the foci, the values, talents, and I think there's Lower Deck species is on that as well. These are all, apart from the talents, these are all basically examples that you could pick from, or you could make your own up. So, Jan, as obviously in species application,
yep.
You in the same field you get the trait Cation.
Yeah.
Basically, you have retained the retractable claws of your ancestors. You are carnivorous and you prefer uncooked meat. Apparently, Caitians are regarded as some of the greatest poets and philosophers in the Federation. There you go.
Oh.
Yep. You gain +1 daring, +1 fitness, and +1 insight. Now, within the first edition rules, this didn't exist, but in second edition, instead of the species talents being just a talent you can pick from using your available talents, it becomes a species talent, so you get this for free. So in the field which says species and traits, I think it is also in there. No, species ability, sorry, which is just underneath the departments on the right-hand side. I think the probably best one out of the two they've got here is prehensile tail.
Yep.
So it increases your control over your tail appendage as part to the point of part of it becoming fully functional. So you can hold and operate things with a tail as if it was an additional hand. And on top of that, you gain a bonus d20 to any fitness task to maintain balance or to climb. So that's useful.
Very useful.
Okay, so I'll go through the species for Roger, because you're the only one who hasn't picked a species as yet. Andorian, we know what those are. You familiar with the Enar?
I've just been actually looking them up as you've been going through it.
Fair enough.
So yes, I know what they look like now.
Yeah. There are rules in this for mixed heritage characters and also for augments or cyborgs. So that is also a possibility if people want to go in that direction as well. Slightly more complicated, but not massively so.
Well, seeing as everyone else is an alien, I might go human.
Okay.
But you always need one.
Token human.
Give me a lap I can curl up on.
You're a bit big for that, but then that's never stopped bother. Other species from the lower decks book are Apagosians, who are a human species that basically they went to a world, basically a Renaissance fair D&D style planet. Everything is renamed about dragons and stuff. If you've watched the show, the chief engineer is the prince of that world, and his mum keeps wanting to get him to have sex so that he then becomes the king of that world, because that's when he becomes a man, he becomes king, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Exocomps, as in the next generation species of robot-y thing.
Sure.
And there's Kalons and Tamarians. Kalons are kind of humanoid, but humanish, but with some alterations. And Tamarians are the weird ones in next gen, where there's they use Garon, his eyes wide, and that kind of terminology instead of that's the way the English.
Oh yeah, they speak. Well, I would never be able to pull that off. So for them, I quite like the sound of the weird Renaissance human planet. That sounds like a laugh. I'll go with that.
No worries. In lower decks, they did actually have a Tamarian security officer, and most of the time he spoke normal English. It's just every now and again he piped up with some Tamarian because he had been learning Federation standard.
So what do I need to put down for my species?
I'm just finding the sheet, the page for you. So, Apagosians, Apegosian.
Application, okay.
Okay. You get +1 control, +1 presence, and +1 reason. You gain the trait Apagosian.
Oh, that's just also under species as well, same box. So okay.
Yep. Basically, because of the trait you get, you got rectangular pupils. Because of this, you reduce the difficulty of opposed tasks that rely on sight by 1.
So reduced difficulty of sight tasks.
Yep. And there are 2 talents they've got in, because again, the lower decks book is first edition, so I'll go through the 2 talents and we can decide which one of those is the species talent. The other talents are available. You just have to pay for them with your normal talent allocation. So first one is residual strange energies. Ancient ones, strange energies that have permeated the planet have morphed your genetics, giving you the ability to change objects into other things. Once per mission, you may turn one non-living simple object into another. Both objects must be able to be held in your hand.
Okay, that sounds like a laugh.
Number sense is the other one. You have mastery of what numbers mean, not just mathematically, but philosophically too. When you attempt a task without using a computer that involves analyzing numbers, you can reduce the difficulty by 1. So pick one, and that's your species talent.
Let's go with the numbers thing. What was that called again?
That was number sense. I kind of half expected you to go for the residual strange energies.
Yeah, I was tempted, but I couldn't see me making any objects that would be appropriate to be aired on television.
No problem. I'm sure at some point during the game we will find something where you'll go, damn, I could have done with that one, but never mind.
Constantly, I'm sure.
All applications use names similar to those found on Earth, so that's not an issue. Okay, so next we will go with Vulcan, because that's the one that just happened to have fallen open into my on my book. So Nick, +1 control.
Just remind me, because I missed a bit at the beginning. Do these all start with 7?
Yes. So you start at 7 and then you build from there.
Yeah. All right, brilliant. So +1 control.
Yep, +1 fitness.
Nice.
And +1 reason.
Okay.
Your species trait is Vulcan.
Okay.
So this is things like you can suppress your emotional responses, exert influence over biological processes. So usually regular meditation is needed, and you're about 3 times as strong as a human of similar size and weight.
Cool.
Your species trait, because this is species talent, sorry, because this is actually in the 2nd edition book, so they're already done, is mental discipline.
Okay.
What I will do for all of you is I will snap the information and pass it directly to you about these sorts of things, so you've got in front of you the blurb rather than having to worry about remembering what it does or writing everything down hurriedly. So mental discipline, you have some psychic capabilities, but you do require training to use effectively, i.e. you need to have the talent for it. Maximum stress is based on your control attribute rather than your fitness. And you may suffer 2 stress to avoid suffering any trait that represents an emotional state. But if you become fatigued, the cost of that goes up to 3.
All right.
Okay. And Bajoran. Okay, so Rupert, you get +1 control, +1 daring, and +1 insight.
Okay.
You gain the trait Bajoran. I wonder if we can sense a pattern forming here.
Yeah.
You tend to be hostile towards Cardassians and resentful to those who are dismissive of or turn a blind eye to the suffering of the Bajoran people. While not all Bajorans are spiritual or religious to the same degree, most have the cultural understanding of the Prophet's place in their society. A lot of them actually have, and this means this, but that's pretty much it. You also gain the species ability, the will of the prophets. What this means is once per adventure, when the GM, i.e. me, spends 3 or more threat at one time, you gain 1 determination. Now, determination in this game setting, there's a number of meta currencies. Threat is what you give me to do things, and I can then spend it to do things back. Momentum is what you get, and the costs are about the same for both of those. Momentum is the thing you get when you roll more successes than you actually needed. Determination is a better version of momentum. You can do more with it. For example, whereas with momentum you can buy an additional dice to roll, with determination, you don't get the extra dice, but you do turn one of those dice to the best result you can get, therefore getting an extra success. Or that's if you spend it beforehand. If you spend it after, you can re-roll all the dice you have. And you don't have to roll all of them, you can just roll the ones you want. So you can, if you've got a success you want more, you can roll all of the other dice. So it's a good thing to have. Okay,
so make sure to walk with the prophets.
Indeed. And Jan, I don't think you're familiar with the Bajorans. They have an earring on one ear, which is represents this as spirituality. I don't recall which one it is, but that's
Okay.
And they are an interesting species, shall we say?
What's their appearance?
Very human, apart from a crinkle on the nose and this earring.
Oh, right.
So they are of the traditional Star Trek. We need a new species. What kind of prosthetics? We'll just put a crinkle on the nose rather than a pointy bit on the end of the ears or whatever. Okay, so the next bit is environment. This is the life path summary character creations thing. There is another one which is in play, but I don't think that really works as well for lower decks. So environment is the next stage, and that is where you were born. And it's not specific, i.e., I was born on Mars or I was born on. It's more tailored to the actual the species that you are. So I think this actually, let's quickly have a look at the Apigotians, because I think Apigotians are the only ones where they don't really have all of the options. Yeah, they hail from their respective worlds. So homeworld is the only appropriate environment for members of those species. So unless you want to come up with if you can come up with a good enough excuse, Roger, I'm happy for you to say you're from another location. But mostly the vast majority of Apigotians come from their own homeworld.
Yeah, I'm fine with going from wherever their homeworld is.
No problem. So if you write homeworld on your character sheet under environment, and I'll go into what that means momentarily.
I'm guessing it's just Apigotia.
I would have thought so. We can find out the actual. I've still got the page open. Apigotians come from.
Gosia? Actually,
it doesn't say in this. But
I'm just going to assume Apigosia.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable assumption. We can always amend it if necessary. I am in the middle of rewatching the lower decks, so because that's
good choice.
It's my method. When I'm running a game, I tend to watch what I can to do with that, listen to the soundtrack, all those sorts of things to get myself into the zone. So for the rest of you, have two options. I can either go through the list of what's available, or you can roll a d20.
I should roll a d20. Because I like rolling dices.
Sorry, Nick, you are on mute. Can you hear me, brother?
It's probably good because I got some new dice and they're beautiful, but they're really heavy. So because they're metal, so if they make an awful racket, I'll have to mute it again. But yeah, I'll definitely roll.
No worries.
So what's the outcome of the roll? Sorry.
So what did you roll?
I didn't roll anything, so
okay.
I'm trying to work out. Sorry, what are we rolling for?
Basically, this is your environment where your character was born, and this affects some of your stats. So you can either roll or you can pick from the list. Everyone else apart from Roger is rolling, and that's only because Roger only has one option. Apart from it's not with a good excuse. So Nick,
15 for me.
15, an isolated colony.
All right.
Again, I'll go through the blurb, through the stat part of it later, but you are from a colony that's isolated from the broader galactic society. So, for example, worlds like the Vulcan Monastery on Pajem might have been that.
But you can't be born in a monastery because that's men only.
Yeah, I don't think
my guy is totally is a guy.
And also, it's Star Trek. I don't think they're limiting you there. Jan.
18.
18. Starship or star base. So you weren't actually born on a planet. You were born on a starship or a star base.
Well, that makes sense with my family's links to the Federation.
Yep. All right.
You know.
And Ripper.
I got 10.
10. You've got home. You've actually got the homeworld. So you were born on Bajor.
Yeah, I'm not sure that there would have been many other sensible places for a Bajoran to be born, to be honest.
You could have been born on a star base, i.e. Deep Space Nine or Terek Nor. Yeah. You could have been one of the few who got smuggled off of, or whose parents left Bajor when the Cardassians took over.
Yes.
I mean, theoretically, you could have been born on a Cardassian world as well.
Yeah,
if you were taken there as a, slave or indentured worker.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll go through them in order that they're on the actual book. Homeworld happens to be the first one. So there are a number of things you'll gain through this character creation.
Does that apply to me, the Homeworld thing, or
that's your one? Yeah.
Okay.
And there are some of them where instead of being you gain this specific benefit, the attributes one is an easy one, but there are some things like talents or values you might want to or focuses you may want to wait until the end, unless something pops up at you. There is there's a PDF on the Discord channel. There's an extra channel I added on when I gave you all permissions to, which is also a channel I was thinking we could use when we create traits. So when you're when we're playing, if you do something that creates a trait for the area or a trait for the situation, which I will explain when we actually get into playing, then we can add that onto that thing so that we can look and see what the traits are. Because traits have an effect of, I want to do a particular thing. You're trying to do something and you make, instead of it being dark, you do something to make it lighter, and therefore the trait becomes light, and that will affect how easy something is, how difficult something is, whether it's possible or impossible. But again, I'll go into explaining that one properly. We're playing, so there should be something there called support characters and traits.
Yeah.
Okay. So, which book is it? You
said that the things were in a book.
They're on a PDF.
Yeah, I know, but where is it?
It should be.
So I can see the character sheets. But that's,
where the hell did I put that? I put that. Oh,
and then we've got pictures of trenches.
I'm an idiot. We all know I'm an idiot, but I am an idiot. Let me get I put it into a different one. So Roger, you get a value. You'll have a number of these, and this is this reflects the environment or culture within. So there's a field there that says should say values underneath your attributes. You don't have to pick this now. There is in the PDF I've just provided. There is
sample values,
and the species have species have them as well. So the value they give in Apagosian on the thing is numbers are more than a quantity. But you can pick whatever you like.
Numbers are more than a quantity.
Yeah.
Oh, is that because they like numbers and they think they can find something? Okay.
Yeah. Values are something where if you can work it in, if the thing you're trying to do matches your value or your the mission.
And how many are you supposed to have?
Well, you should end up with, I think it's about 6, but we'll go through there's a bit at the end of the character creation process that sort of says what you're supposed to have, and make sure everyone has them. So yes, you should have. It's not helpful. Most of them say you should have X. You'll have multiple anyway. But you can, if you want to, just put it to one side, and then we'll come back to that one.
I've made a note of that one because it seems appropriate given it's my species thing.
Yep. You also get to choose one of the 3 attributes your character species improved. So the 3 that are not 7s, control, presence, and reason, and add 1 to one of those.
So one of the ones I've already improved.
Yes. So you get an extra 1 point improvement on one of those.
I mean, control, is that like willpower, or is that how good you are at like flying things? I mean, sorry, I'm not entirely.
No, that's absolutely fine. Let me find the actual proper description.
I mean, presence, I'm guessing, is how good you are at talking to people.
Yeah.
Reason is thinky.
Yeah, I'll find the proper descriptions, because although I'm reasonably familiar with it, sometimes it's easier to actually describe it through the words that they use, because I don't know what my words are sometimes not good. So, control. Coordinate a group of subordinates carefully and precisely, or to give detailed orders.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Daring, to make split-second command decisions, or to resist fear or coercion.
Mm-hmm.
Fitness, to coach others performing the same physical activity, or to coordinate a group such as several people kept moving a heavy load. Insight, to judge the mood and morale of the group or of subordinates, or to try to assuage the fears of a group. Presence to rally or inspire others during a difficult situation, or to command the attention or respect of someone's hostile. And reason to consider and evaluate the orders given by a superior, or to find a solution to a difficult diplomatic or legal situation. So it's quite open to interpretation to a large extent.
I'll go with reason. Why not?
Sure. No worries. No worries. Okay. And the last part is actually no. So we dealt with the last part. Oh no. So there's another. Choose one of command, security, or science, and increase that department by 1.
Command, security, or science.
So your departments, which are to the right of the attributes.
Yeah.
You get to increase one of those ones that I mentioned: command, security, or science.
With science.
No worries. No worries. That's fine. Okay. So isolated colony. I believe that's Nick.
Yeah.
Okay. What we'll try to do, I might have a word, and we'll just put a splash screen up of earlier on, because you seem to be still failing to get the cameras doesn't seem to be working properly.
Yeah.
Which is.
Yeah, it might be a matter of switching it all off and switching it on again, but I'll wait till we have a break and try that.
No worries.
For now.
No worries. So isolated colony. You get a value.
Yep.
Which you can decide. I can tell you which ones the Vulcan ones are or is.
Okay.
But I'll go to that in a minute because they've got quite a few.
All right.
So you get to pick one of those. You also get to increase one of the following attributes by 1: reason or insight.
Okay. I'm going to go for insight.
And you choose one of engineering, science, or medicine, and increase that department by 1.
And do all the departments start on something as well?
They should all start on 1, yeah.
Okay, so they're all on 1. And then, what did we pick again? What did you pick, Rupert? Was it science or
engineering? Is what
engineering. So I'm going to up my science by 1 then.
No worries. So Jan.
Yep.
Starship or Starbase. Again, you can decide which one it is, but this is just for your environment.
Starship.
Yeah, no worries. You get a value to begin with. And again, we'll go through those values later on if we need to. There are some example ones in that PDF, and also you can make them up. And I'll explain what they do if people need me to. I'll do that anyway, but if people need me to explain it today, I'll do that today.
Okay.
So you get to increase either your control or your insight by 1.
Okay.
You also gain to choose one of command, con, or engineering, and increase that department by 1.
Okay.
That is your environment, which is the first of these things. The next bit is upbringing. This is where you were brought up, as the name suggests. Again, there's a D20 roll, or you can pick from the table. Each one of them, you can choose to either have accepted your upbringing or rebelled against it, and that affects how the numbers you get from it. So,
sorry, I think I missed the first half of how Homeworld works. Sorry, would you mind just quickly running me through?
No, that's absolutely fine. So you get a value.
Yeah, and so I just need to pick that at some point, and it's in the.
Yeah, there are examples in there where you can make it up. You also should have gotten one extra on an attribute, one of the ones you initially got for your species. And you should have either command, security, or science at 2 rather than 1.
Yeah.
No worries.
Okay, great. Thanks.
That's fine. Okay, so first person for their upbringing.
$17.
Okay, Starfleet or military, which is also quite appropriate for your character, if I understand correctly.
Yep.
Okay, next.
I rolled a 2.
Agricultural or rural, which is again for a Bajoran from Bajor quite appropriate.
What's the difference between agricultural and rural? Because agriculture is kind of rural.
Well,
not really. I mean, rural could just be you grew up in the woods, whereas agricultural is you grew up on a farm.
Yeah, you grew out in the countryside. You grew up in the countryside, or you were involved in the farming infrastructure. So
I was thinking more you got planted in a field, watered periodically, and dug up when you got to 12.
There probably could be a species like that. So next.
11.
Okay. Business. Diplomacy or politics?
Oh, sounds awful. Diplomacy or politics?
Yeah. You don't have to choose between them. That's just the name of the upbringing.
Right. Okay.
You'll when we get into the meat of it, it'll be: did you rebel against that upbringing, or did you accept it? Roger.
Right.
Am I rolling D20?
Yeah.
3.
Agricultural or rural? Okay, so we'll start with agricultural and rural since we have 2 people with that anyway, and it's on the list.
Well, upbringing, agricultural and rural.
Yeah. So basically, the choice you need to make is: did you accept it or did you rebel against it?
I accepted it. I'm going to go with agricultural.
Sure.
Because everyone and their mums are packing around here.
Rural. Oh, sorry. I spoke over you there.
Okay, so for Roger, because you accepted it, you increase your control by 1 and your fitness by 2.
Oh.
And Rupert, you also got
exact opposite. I thought I'd go with rebel against rural.
No, and it kind of makes sense because you Bajor and there's all these people trying to, tell you how
against.
Yeah. So Roger is going with the tough, practical life, strong work ethic, healthy body, whereas you're going more with this science, technology, and fruits of civilization. So you get +1 presence and +2 reason. You both also get 1 focus, which should relate to your rural lifestyle and the skills you learned there. Now, focuses, or foci as they should properly be named, we're going to use the language properly, as opposed to what's written in the book. If you are trying to do a task and you have a focus that counts for what you're trying to do, so let's say, for example, one of the examples they give here is ground vehicles. So you're trying to drive a ground vehicle. I tell you the attribute department, so it might be control and security, because you're in a combat situation. You have got ground vehicles as a focus, so when you're rolling your dice, you have an increased chance of getting that extra success. Instead of having to roll a 1 to get the second success, you need to roll equal to or below your ranks in that department. So it increases your chances of getting that extra success. You also gain a single talent, and it's a free choice. But again, I would suggest possibly waiting till we get to the end so that you can pick with all, because there are some that have prerequisites. You have to do have a certain level of a particular thing.
Just made it out, talent. So yeah, I went with my focus as veterinary medicine.
Perfect.
Got to look after them cows.
No problem. So diplomacy and politics was next on the list. So Nick, did you accept or did you rebel?
Rebel, definitely.
No problem. So you were after more tangible things to focus on. So you increase your fitness by 1 and your reason by 2.
Oh, nice.
That's pretty decent for a Vulcan, actually.
Yeah.
And again, you get to pick a focus. Oh, actually, sorry, I missed a bit here. Where are we? So Roger and Rupert, you both get to increase 1 of either con, security, or medicine by 1. So the way they put it is a bit awkward. And Nick, you get to increase either command, con, or security by 1.
Okay. What's con? Is that like comms?
Command.
Flight. It's flight con, control of a spaceship or a vehicle or something like that. And again, I can go through the departments with everyone if they need to. The way these work, Roger, you'll remember when we played. Actually, no, you weren't involved with that group, idiot. We were playing Leverage a while back. 2021, I ran it for a bunch of people who largely morphed into the Thursday group that we currently have, apart from the fact that everyone else has dropped out for varying reasons. It's kind of a skill group. So if you are a flight controller, if you're helmsman, you're very good at comm. If you're a medical officer, then medicine's your thing. It gathers all the skills into one thing. So you all have an ability with all of everyone else's capabilities. So as a medic, Roger, you could do engineering work or do security work, but just you're a specialist in a particular field, which is not those. So, Nick, you get to pick a focus related to your preferred way of applying your skills, whether it be composure or debate or interrogation, Starfleet protocol. You can pick one. You also gain a single talent. And again, I would suggest possibly leaving that till the end to go through the list.
Yeah. Okay. And I might have missed it. Is it focuses? Is it just you just pick a narrative thing, or is there a list of words?
There is a list of focus in that PDF I put in the
chat. Yeah,
there's a list of it,
right.
But you can make it up as well. You don't have to stick to that.
Right. Cool.
So, Jan.
Yep.
Did you accept your upbringing in Starfleet, or did you rebel against it?
My mother beat me up till I accepted it.
That sounds. Is that rebel or is that accept?
Accepted under duress.
Okay. So, for the purposes of this, are we counting this as you accepted it, or are you counting? It sounds more like rebelled.
No.
Sounds more like domestic violence.
Yeah, I got you.
You've seen Cats. You will do what you're told. Ow.
I rebelled.
Okay, no problem.
Even though I'm in Starfleet now, I still rebelled.
Yeah, I mean, you're this is your youth we're talking about here, so you had time to change your mind or be convinced otherwise. So, because you rebelled, you increase your daring by 2 and your insight by 1.
Okay.
Because you had exposure to the ways and traditions of Starfleet, you can increase any one attribute by 1. You're not limited to the ones you pick.
Yeah.
You also gain, a focus, same as everyone else, which should be something to do with your formative years in a Starfleet environment. And you gain a single talent. Okay, so the next bit is your career path. Now, there's 2 parts to it. The first part is going to basically be your Starfleet officers, because that's what it's a lower decks game, your Starfleet officers. So we're under career path. But you also then get to choose which division you're going to be in. Now, because you have decided what you want to play, this is not a dice roll. I'll just tell you what they are. So we have got operations is engineering and security. So we'll do that one first. So first of all, you gain the trait Starfleet officer. Everyone gets that. You also gain a value, which is some aspect of your beliefs that developed during your time at the academy. They've given examples of get it done right the first time. Sometimes you just have to improvise, or by the book isn't worth much in practice. This is for. There are some other ones for the sciences track, which is more for Roger and Nick. And again, you can make up your own. You can go into that list and pick from there. It's all fine. You also gain 3 attribute points, which can be split between 2 or 3 attributes. I.e., you can increase one attribute by 1 and another by 2, or increase 3 attributes by 1, and you can pick these freely.
Is there a cap?
There is, but that's covered towards the end. Normally, your maximum attribute is 12, unless you take a particular experience level. And skill departments is 5, but again, unless you take a particular experience, which we'll get to. But there is a thing that covers it at the end, whereas if you've got an attribute or a department that's above that, then they cover that and you can re-spend those points elsewhere.
Sorry, just once again, what rule was it for the attributes?
So you've got 3 points, which you can apply to attributes. The maximum one at any one attribute is 2.
Okay.
You can split, but you can put one a free choice on there. And then you also get to select either engineering or security as your major, which I'm fairly sure we know which way that's going to go for you two. That department is increased by 2. And then you select 2 other departments, which were your minor subjects, and you increase them by 1 each. But you can't have a department higher than 4 at this stage.
Is that for everyone, or was that just for...
This is for you two, specifically Jan and Rupert.
Oh, sorry. So +2 security.
Yep. And then +1 on 2 other subjects.
That's departments.
Yep.
Okay.
You get 3 foci that at least one should relate to your chosen track. So whether it be hand phasers for security or ship or tactical systems or warp field dynamics for engineering, you get 3, one of which has to be related to what you are. And you gain a single talent. So Roger and Nick. Again, you've got the talent, the trait, Starfleet officer.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You may also gain a trait here reflecting your specific profession and accompanying advanced training, such as physician or psychiatrist.
Okay.
So you could be, Roger, a vet, psychiatrist, an animal shrink.
Oh my God.
I think it's more like traditional medicine.
No worries.
So physician.
Traditional medicine? Really? It's going back to bloodletting and trepanning.
Leeches, they work. Just saying.
And you two also gain a single value, which should reflect some aspect of your beliefs. So what examples they've given for the sciences track are: no conclusions until I've run some tests. I want to see what nobody has seen, or first do no harm. And again, values, you can pick anything if it makes sense with what you want to do.
No conclusion without test sounds good.
No worries. You also gain 3 points of attributes, which can be split between 2 or 3 attributes, i.e. add 2 to one attribute and 1 to another, or 1 to 3 separate attributes.
Okay.
You also select your either science or medicine as your major. Again, make sure we know which one that is. That becomes 2. And then you select 2 other departments.
It becomes 2.
You add 2 to that, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Then you select 2 other departments, which are your minor subjects, and you increase them by 1 each, with a maximum of 4. You also gain 3 foci. At least one should relate to your chosen track. So it might be emergency medicine or trauma surgery, or in the case of a scientist, warp field dynamics or geology. And you gain a single talent. Let me know when you're ready for the next stage.
So 3 foci, yeah?
Yeah. So let me know when you guys are ready to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to read through all the foci in a bit, but for now it's all good.
Roger just making notes at the moment.
Yeah.
I was just trying to see if there was like tractor engineering as an engineering foci.
You can invent them. So if you want to have tractor engineering, you can absolutely have that. Just put it in.
Well, I was just trying to see if there was like an engines one. Well, I mean, propulsion, I guess.
The foci, literally, they're just examples. You can add in. You could put.
Can I just put engines?
Yeah. If you wanted to, you could do animal puppetry. Which would obviously work better if you were a pet psychiatrist. But these are literally just examples. You can make it up, and especially with lower decks, there's a bit more capability for you to come up with. You're an Apagosian, so what you might have is something related to dragon blood fired engines, because that all of theirs is very much the fantasy. They're kind of, their ships are powered by the dragon blood engines and things like that. It's very much,
I went with emergency medicine because I probably learned some things while I'm in Starfleet, ground vehicles because tractors, and engines because maintaining tractors on the farm.
No, imagine Star Trek spaceships or space species crossed with LARPers.
Now I just need shotguns because everyone and their mums are packing round here.
You are quite literally from a planet of space LARPers.
Space LARPer farmers.
Yeah. Okay, so the next stage is your experience. The experience is whether you are a novice officer or an experienced officer. There is one above that, but because of when you pick one, it determines your maximum and minimum rank. Since you're all lower deckers,
we've got to be ensigns, surely.
Yeah. I mean, if you chose the veteran option, you wouldn't be anything lower than a lieutenant commander. So I'm ignoring that. So you've got two options. You can play someone who is a novice, or someone who is veteran. Someone who's experienced. Sorry, experienced is the mid-range, and you can pick any rank as an experienced officer. It's just not your first posting. And the benefits you get are you pick stuff. I'll go through the specifics, but you get to pick stuff. Novice, you are literally, this is your first posting, and instead of getting to pick a talent, you get a specific talent, which does a number of things. There's a minor benefit effect, but there's also, it reduces your maximum attribute, reduces your maximum department level until you get rid of that talent. But it does have a beneficial effect as well. I would personally say experienced is the better option. But
novice does seem more lower decks.
Yeah.
Mariner
I know I might be shooting myself in the foot, but I'm going to go with novice because it seems more lower decks.
No worries. I mean, basically, remembering that Mariner was already been around the houses, probably in many different ranks, she would be experienced.
Yeah, but the others were novices.
Tendi certainly was. I'm not sure, but Rutherford, not so much.
I think they were. I think they were kind of fairly fresh out of Starfleet Academy.
I can't remember if it was ever mentioned, but you can pick that. That's absolutely fine. So the rest of you try to decide what you want to go with. Roger, you get.
Where do I write down novice?
Under your experience, which is just under upbringing.
Oh yeah, novice.
And you get a value which must reflect your inexperience and naivety.
Oh, should I have put something under career path?
Officer, and you and sciences / medicine.
Officer and science. Okay, sorry, yeah, done that.
No worries. So you get a value which represents your inexperience and naivety. Examples they give are: I can't wait to see what's out there. The galaxy isn't what I expected, or I must prove myself.
Can't wait to see what's out there. Young and eager. I don't know better and realise everything's rubbish yet.
Actually, here's a silly thought for you, Roger. Have you ever seen the show The Rookie?
No.
Nathan Fillion plays a middle-aged man who decides to become a police officer. So he's the oldest rookie on the force. Your choice, but you could be that middle-aged rookie who joined in his 30s or 40s.
No, it'll be novel to be optimistic for once. I'll play someone young and naive.
No worries. And you also gain a specific talent called Untapped Potential. Again, I'll send you the specifics of this, but the basics are, apart from the reducing of your maximum, whenever you succeed at a task which you bought one or more additional dice by any means, you roll a dice after the roll, and if you roll equal to or less than the attribute you've chosen for this, because you have to pick one when you're doing this, then you gain a bonus momentum. If you roll higher, you add one threat instead. And you can never be a rank higher than Lieutenant Junior grade until you get rid of this talent. There's
Sure, you'll have to remind me of that.
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll get that text to you, so you've actually got it. I'll put a Word document or something together, so you've got it in front of you.
Because I will forget.
Oh yeah. So how about everyone else? Has anyone else decided what they want to be?
Little experience.
I'm also going to go with that because I think Rutherford must have been experienced after his whole flashbacks and working on that shuttle and then getting blown up and all of that happened to him. So.
No worries. Nick?
I'm going to take novice as well.
No problem. Did you remember what I gave to Roger?
Yep. Yeah, I've just written this in.
No problem. So experienced, again, you get a value, and this can be chosen freely because you're not novices. And again, you get a talent, which you can choose freely. So you don't have the veteran one's a really good one, but obviously because of lower decks, it's not really appropriate. Okay.
Sorry, Roger. What was the last thing with novice apart from the value?
Did we get the talent Untapped Potential?
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
And again, I'll make sure you get the blurb for that as well.
Yeah. Cheers.
So the next stage is your career event. Now, for those of you who are novice, this may well have been during your cadet cruise or earlier on in your being on board the ship. But you get to, again, I'm going to suggest this actually you roll for this because there's a lot of bits in here, a lot of choices. And these can either be, you take what you roll and then merge into one event, or this is multiple events that have happened. You can, if you want, roll more than just two, but you only get the benefit of two of them. So if you want to have had lots of things going on in your career, whether it be a really, really, really horrible cadet cruise, or you experienced a number of things have happened. Some of this is good and some of this is bad. So again, if you want to roll a d20 for the first one.
Yeah.
7. That is discovered an artifact.
Oh, that can only end well.
And we'll go through the blurb once everyone has rolled both of their career events.
Where do I write this down?
Career events, which is...
Oh, yeah, career event 1.
Yeah, that's it.
Discovered an artifact.
Okay. Next.
Is it a talking sword?
It can be.
13 I got.
13 is negotiated a treaty.
All right.
17.
17, ship destroyed.
Is that red dot? I was chasing it and I nearly caught it.
Rupert?
I've got 14.
14 is new battle strategy. And if we roll another one each, and then we'll go through them all at one time.
4 I got.
4, conflict with a hostile culture. Perhaps your negotiation didn't work as well as you planned.
Yeah.
9.
9, first contact.
10.
Lauded by another culture.
Ugh.
And I got 7.
Discovered an artifact. So you also discovered an artifact.
Nice.
Talking swords for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to this. Someone got conflict with a hostile culture, I believe.
Yep, I got
Okay, so you get +1 fitness,
that. Nice.
+1 security,
This is me running away from the thing. It's one of fitness.
and they've given some focus suggestions. You get a focus for this: hand phasers, hand-to-hand combat, or tactical systems. But again, you can make up your own if you want.
Oh, okay.
Discovered an artifact.
Mm-hmm.
+1 reason, +1 engineering.
Yeah.
And you gain the focus. Again, focus suggestions here are ancient technology, computers, or reverse engineering. But again, you can pick what you want. So that's both you and Rupert.
Sorry, what were the suggested ones?
They were ancient technology, computers, or reverse engineering.
And that's, sorry, was that a talent? Was that
that is a
focus?
focus.
We
Focus.
pick another focus.
Yeah. Okay. First contact, I believe, was Jan.
Yep.
+1 presence,
Yep.
+1 to any department,
Yep.
and a focus with their suggestions being cultural studies, diplomacy, or infiltration.
Okay.
Lauded by another culture, I believe that was you, Roger, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so +1 presence,
Oh, hang on. Yeah.
+1 science.
Oh, is that the department?
Yes, sorry.
Did you say we can't go above 4?
I did, but don't worry about that for the moment. That's covered later in a couple of stages
Okay.
time.
Because that puts me at 5.
That's fine. And focus suggestion.
Oh, shit, hang on. Sorry.
Sorry.
No, I made an error there, so my science should be 3. My medicine should be 4. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry. So focus suggestions: a focus of X culture, replacing the X with the name of the culture, or any that represent skills or techniques specific to that culture. So you can make that sort of stuff up. So it could be the
Save someone's favorite dog.
and you also gain a trait. A good example might be friend to the X, replacing the name of the culture with X, replacing X with the name of the culture, which represents your renown amongst that culture.
Is there a culture that likes animals where a vet could have turned up and saved the day?
They're probably. I mean, you can make the species up. You can make the culture up. You could come up with a breed of dog, and the Doberman or something.
Planet Labrador.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. So I've got entirely lost. Sorry.
Is it not these days the Dover person?
Sorry, I've written down the department, but sorry, what was the other stuff?
Focus with the suggestion is something around the culture, or skills or techniques that you are specific to that culture, and a trait which is friend to whatever the culture is.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll try and figure something out with those.
Yeah. Negotiated a treaty, I believe that was Nick.
Yes.
+1 control.
All right.
+1 command.
Okay.
And the suggestions or focuses are diplomacy, negotiation, or galactic politics. But again, you can pick what you like.
Okay.
And Rupert, battle strategy.
Yes.
You devise a new strategy or tactic. So you get +1 daring.
Okay.
+1 security. And their suggested foci are combat tactics or hazard awareness. But again, I'm not going to hold people to specifically just that. I believe, Jan, you also had a ship destroyed.
Ship destroyed in first contact, yeah.
Yep. So, we did. Are we not done first contact?
Yeah, no, we did one, but I couldn't remember which one we did. So
That's fine. So, the ship you were serving on was destroyed during a mission. You were one of the few who survived. So, +1 daring,
yeah,
+1 security,
yeah.
and their suggested foci are extravehicular operations, small craft, or survival. So, has anyone got one we haven't touched upon?
Nope.
I think I've covered all of them. Everyone good?
Yep.
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 All right. Yeah, I'm just a bit behind trying to figure out foci.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm still doing that as well.
I'm do that after.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have to get that sorted whilst we're on this. You can do that afterwards between now and next week. I'm not going to, there's not a test at the end of the video call. So the next bit.
There was. I've been revising all week.
Okay, next bit is values. So you receive one final value. It might reflect the career events from step 6. This is step 7, so your career events. It may represent some other element of your character. It could be a relationship connecting to you to another character on the crew, another organization or culture. And obviously, if you have values you haven't already chosen, you should choose them here. And again, let me know when you're all ready to move on to the next part of this one.
Are we going to get any more values? Because I'm about to run out of space.
No,
Yeah, me too.
this should be the last value.
Okay.
For a foci for my artifact, could it be linguistics? Perhaps I learned how to read stuff on it.
Sure. Okay, is everyone ready to move to the next bit?
Sure.
Okay, so this is largely just doing the final bits and pieces. There's a little bit after this, but not a massive amount after this. So, at least character creation wise, the next bit is your attributes. Unless you have the untapped potential talent, no attribute can be above 12, and only one of them can be at 12. If you have untapped potential, then no attribute can be above 11, and only one of them can be 11.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What
happens? Yeah, if you've got one.
If you have an attribute above those limits, for each point you reduce that attribute down to that limit.
Yeah.
And then for each point reduced, you can increase another attribute by 1 with the same limitations in mind. So if you've got an attribute, somehow you manage to get to 13 and you've got a maximum of 11, you take 2 points off and you put them somewhere else.
All right. Cool.
And then you get to add 2 more points increase 2 more attributes by 1 with those same limitations in mind.
All right.
Okay. And the next bit is departments. So if anyone is anyone still going with the attributes bit?
No, I'm good.
Okay, I'm going to take that as a general yes. So you again maximum on departments. If you don't have untapped potential, you can only have 1 attribute of 5, and everything else has to be lower. If you have anything that's above that, then you reduce them, respend those points. If you have untapped potential, you have a maximum department of 4.
Mm-hmm.
You reduce it and respend those points in the same way, and then you get to increase 2 departments by 1 point each within the normal limits.
So the increase is only if you've had to pull points away from one of the other.
You get to spend the points that you have to take off another number if you have to, but you also
Yeah.
gain 2 attribute, 2 points. Sorry, 1 point and 2 attributes on top of that anyway.
Oh, right. So we're all meant to be adding.
You're all getting the bonus 2, but those of you who had an attribute or a department above the maximums get to spend the excess points.
Sorry, I think I'm getting confused. Sorry. So
if
the
you
bonus 2 was independent of being above.
Yeah. So if
okay.
you've got an attribute of 5, just the one, you don't get to, and that's your highest. You don't get to reduce any points off, but you still get the +2 points. If you've got an attribute of 6, then you get 1 point off to bring it down to 5, and then you get 3 points effectively to spend. Okay. Everyone good?
Yep.
Okay. You should all have 6 foci, plus any additional ones granted by species or talents prior to this stage. Any talents you get to pick.
I've got 5 plus my species one.
Yep. So 6 should be from. Let's go to the start. So
because I got veterinary medicine from my Oh no, that's not. Is that my species? No, never mind. I don't think I get one from my species.
this was foci, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So foci, you got 1 from your upbringing.
Yeah. So I didn't
Got
get a species
3
one. No,
from
it's fine.
your
So I'll have
career.
6. I'm just stumped on one of them.
That's fine. When you can play around that in the between time. You should also have chosen. Well, you should have 3 talents. But
I've got 2. Oh no, I've got 2 more to pick.
yeah, no problem. But now you gain 1 an extra talent, bringing you to a total of 4.
Does that? But I've got 1 racial talent. Does that?
Racial talents are on top of everything, which is
Okay.
one of the things they did in 2nd edition. I really appreciated. If you're playing a character who you're playing a Klingon, Bracklool is pretty much a must-have, but that means that you're down talents for everything else. I like the way they've done that. We'll cover talent. We can either cover talents once we've done this, or you can do it in the intervening time. I'm happy with either. There's a final sanity check, which I will tell you what it is, but you can also do the stuff in between time. So your attributes added together should come to 56 total points. Your department's 16. You should have 4 values, 4 talents, and 6 foci.
God, hang on.
I've only got 2 talents.
4 talents.
That's something wrong.
Oh, you said we should have 6 foci.
6 foci, 4 talents, 4 values.
So attributes 56, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you don't have to do this now. You can do this afterwards if you want to. You can do it now if you want.
And our department should be 16?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, that's correct. Cool.
You may not have picked all your talents, but you should have 4 talents available, plus your species talent. Personal details, so name, rough description, the normal kind of stuff that you have to do for your character. And again, I don't need to know that until, well, I will need to know between now and next time because I've got to update the bits, the overlay, etc.
Is there a talent where I can have a pet dog?
That's the
Why
talent.
did I know you would ask that? It's almost like I can tell. I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably not, but you never know.
Can you not have a robo dog?
It's a ship thing.
Well, to be fair, I mean, this is ignoring for a moment. This is the fact this is Star Trek, so therefore there are certain in-universe. You're kind of on a starship, but I did actually watch someone else's Lower Decks game that they did, and they had a holographic veterinarian who had their mobile emitter was effectively something attached to a pet targ. called Borkley. Or possibly Porkley. I'm not quite sure there. It may just have been me mishearing. So to be fair, actually, I would say, although I don't think there's one in this book, I have no problem with Arfinching it from Fallout or Cthulhu.
Yay, pet dog.
Yeah, you can have a pet. I mean, it may be a dog. It might be something else. It could be a Targ or
I don't know what a targ is.
the Klingon pig dog.
Oh, no.
You just want to whip it, don't you?
Oh,
Space
whip
whip
it.
it.
Actually, you'll be an Apogosian. It could be a little dragon dog.
A dragon dog. Now
Okay.
you're talking.
Yeah. So, okay. So personal details you can, as long as you let me know beforehand, so I can do all the necessary on the overlay, etc. You also gain a pastime. Now, this is like a focus, and again, this is something second edition have done. They've taken the focus. Quite a lot of people would go, because it's Star Trek, I'm going to have my character be really good at jazz, because that's what they do in the meantime. You'd have to take a focus in first edition. In second edition, you gain this on top of everything else. So pick a focus that is appropriate to what you do in your spare time, whether it be something creative, a craft, knowledge, you enjoy scientific inquiry or something like that, performance, pastime, self-improvement, sports or games. And again, this is something you can add later if you wish. And again, let me know when you're ready to move on to the next bit.
My God, there's a lot of talents.
There really are. They are split between general, augment, and cybernetic. There's a set for each of the groups of basically, so you command, science, etc. There's also some species one. So, for example, Roger, if you wanted, you could use one of your talents to take the other talent, the residual strange energies, as one of your other talents. Or as a medical person, you could, once he finds some medical.
Yeah, I've just found all the medical ones.
Yeah. I mean, second wind's not a bad one either. That's one of the general ones.
Don't you die on me.
If you've been defeated, you can spend determination at the start of your turn to remove the defeated state and to recover up to half of your maximum stress. So, you know, whilst you guys are thinking about that, I'm going to have a quick shufty in the lower deck book to see if they've got any extras.
Second wind, all I'm picturing is Randy Marsh going, I didn't hear no bell.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say they probably don't have extra talents here, which seems like a loss. Oh, page 92. Maybe there are. So, are there extras? Talents and special rules. Okay. So, that's about aliens. Adding them to new alien species rather than actually being new talents for normal play characters. That's a missed opportunity. And within certain parameters, I'm happy for us to look at reskinning talents to be what you feel your character would need for a lower decks game, you know.
Richard, just remind me, so we should have 4 talents at the end?
Yeah.
but one of them is the untapped potential.
Yes, that's correct.
Right.
For you two, yeah. Plus your species talent, obviously.
Which is just your species, really.
It's the one you, it's the first one you got was specific
Yeah.
to your species.
Oh, okay.
So anyone who, basically for all of you, you now need to pick your rank.
Ensign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in theory, Roger and Nick, you two could take cadet if you wanted, but you're also happy, welcome to take ensign. Same goes for you two. You guys have the choice of any of the ranks, but I would say personally, maximum lieutenant.
I was going for Fleet Admiral.
Yeah. No.
No. But I'm the cat. I'm the most cat that's ever catted.
Yes, your catness and your Starfleet rank are not the same thing, much as you might think they are. You also gain certain pieces of equipment. So by default, you have uniforms, a communicator, a tricorder, a sidearm, and by your duty, you'll get tools. So an engineering toolkit, medical toolkit,
So basically what you'd expect us to carry.
Yeah. You can always try to get other bits and pieces later, either by just replicating them for a mission or during the mission, you can either spend momentum. Sorry, you spend momentum and or threat to get certain other things. So if you're in the middle of a mission, you go, "Oh, actually, I would have brought." You can then spend the points to go, and I did bring transporter transporter amplifier things, stuff like that.
Pattern enhancers.
Yeah, that's the word. That's the one I'm thinking. Words are hard.
Especially when they're trying to babble.
Yeah. I actually have the Doctor Who role-playing game up on my shelf, and there is a table of techno-babble type stuff for that, which is quite cool. I'd love to run more of that. So, okay, so pretty much that's your characters sorted. There are a couple of other things they do within the character creation section. The two parts that they have are your supporting characters and your starship itself. Now, I put the basics of it down because we had discussed on Discord doing the California class. Everyone's happy with the California class, the El Cajon. But you then get to do a few other bits and pieces with that. I am happy if you guys want me to just do it in the background and you not need to worry about it. I'm also happy to discuss that here if we want to. Same goes for the supporting characters. Supporting characters, every ship, the starship you're on, has a support value based usually on the size of your ship, the scale of your ship. In the California class example, that's 4. There are talents that increase your support capacity. And what that means is on each mission, you can activate up to 4 other crew members on your ship. How in varying Star Trek you've had the visiting ensign who actually has a speaking role and is vaguely important to the plot. This has 2 effects. Either you introduce them and they are there in the space and involved in the story, maybe assisting you, maybe not. Or if you're in a situation, say, for example, there's a circumstance where it makes absolutely no sense for a medically trained officer to be doing whatever this particular mission is, or this particular part of the mission, Roger can then go, I'm going to activate a security officer supporting character, and I'll play that for this scene. So it gives you a little bit of capacity. And also, if there's a situation where you don't have enough people for what you're trying to do, you can also go, we'll activate support characters and we'll play those as the extra bits that we need. We don't have a pilot. We need a pilot, so we'll activate a pilot support character. I do have a bunch I did for a game I ran at a convention. So they're a basic starting block. We can create them during play, or we can create them in between sessions, before game, all those sorts of things. So do people want to look at the support characters, or do people want to leave that as a in between and just using the ones I've created unless we need more?
Happy either way.
I'm also happy either way.
Yeah, me too. I don't mind.
And I'm pretty sure Jan will say the same thing.
Yeah.
It's almost like I know her. Okay, so, and the next bit is obviously the starship. So your starship is the California class, so same class as the ship in Lower Decks, the Cerritos. The actual time frame is 2376, I think I said, approximately, which is after the Voyager has returned from the Delta Quadrant, but before Picard and that sort of thing. Your space frame is the California class. I hadn't gone into all the other bits, partially because I started thinking, actually, I'm not entirely sure which one would be appropriate for the Lower Decks thing. But also I thought maybe it might be something you guys might want to look at to be involved with. I'm happy, again, let's say, for you to say you're not that worried, and I can just do that in the background. So, any preference?
Oh, I'm happy for you to make them up personally, but if you want us to, I can do that.
I'm fairly easy either way. It's probably easier for me to do in the background because I've got all the books and I'm a bit more familiar with it, but I didn't to just assume. And then I did that once with a game of The Expanse, I think it was, and one of my party was most foot out because that was a bit he was really looking forward to.
I'm happy for you to crack on. I'm very interested in how it works. So if you want to chat about it offline, then
we can. Well, it's now only 20 to 10, and we kind of started slightly late. Normally, these things are online streaming games. I'm trying to stick to about the 2 hour mark for several reasons. But our normal games that we play, can be up to 3 hours. So we've still got some time, even with the 2 hour. There are some stats for the weapons, but again, I'll stick those into a document and ping them all off into the Discord channel so you guys can see it. If you remember the channel I was telling you about, which I added on, the species and talents, I think it was support characters and talents traits. Sorry. My thought process with this is when we're doing it, as I say, there are occasions we can go, because I'm doing this, I want to create a talent of familiar with Borg technology, which will last for the mission or the scene, depending on the circumstances. And that will either make something possible, whereas it would have been impossible, make something easier where it would have been harder, or the reverse, depending on what kind of. So if it's dark, you'll find it easy to sneak, but you'll find it difficult to spot people, for example. Then you can do things to affect those traits. And I suggest we use this channel support characters and traits as we put those in there to remind ourselves when we're doing the game, if we need to remember what we've got. So you can say, because there is this trait, it should be easier for me to do this. You will also note on that there is a bunch of bridge officer names and species which I put in. And again, I'm happy to discuss them if people want to change them. But that's just, because the way my brain works, I just did a bunch of stuff. So, basic rules. We can quickly go through that. Several of you should already be reasonably familiar because the 2D20 system is a game that we've played for varying things. But the basics of it are, when you're trying to do something, you tell me what you're trying to do, and I will tell you what attribute and department to use. You take the two numbers, you add them together, and you roll a minimum of 2 20-sided dice unless you're assisting somebody, which I'll go to in a moment. You can buy up to 3 additional dice. You can, if you spend a determination, as I mentioned earlier, you can set one of your dice you've got to a 1, which is because you want to roll low in this, and that will automatically be a critical, so you get two successes for that dice instead of 1. You roll your dice. Each dice that rolls equal to or below that combined number is a success, and the difficulty is the number of successes that you need. So you've got the target number, which is your attribute and department. You've got the difficulty, which is the number of successes based on how many you rolled beneath. If you roll a 1 or underneath your ranks in your department, if you have a relevant focus, then you get a second success on that dice. So if you got up to the 5 maximum dice that you can be rolling, and you roll equal to or below your focus, if you've got the focus there, then you could have 10 successes, which would be obscene. On the other hand, if you roll a 20, that's a complication. You can buy those off, but complications could be tripped over my own feet, tipping a mug of hot coffee in the captain's lap, or broken leg, or things like that, depending on circumstances, obviously. You can buy them off with either spending momentum or threat. And there is did I put that document into that folder? I thought I had, but obviously, oh yes, I did. There's another one you'll see that says reference cards. That PDF has all of the information for things like momentum spends, the attribute and department for certain aspects, certain things you might want to do. So just bringing it up quickly now. He says, bringing it up and hoping it's quickly. Come on, when you're ready, anytime soon. Come. Why do I feel like I'm cajoling a cat that's feeling mischievous? Okay, so the first one is Starship stuff, which largely is irrelevant, at the very least to begin with. But then there's things like command major actions and tactical actions, the core mechanics, operations, engineering, helm navigator, command major actions, all those sorts of things. How you attempt an attack, all those sorts of bits. Your personal conflict momentum spends, varying bits that can be quite useful to when you're playing the game. Cheat sheets almost. And I just took a PDF and pulled out the ones that weren't relevant, so it will be a bit odd because there'll be duplications. So when you roll your dice, let's say your difficulty is 2 and you've rolled 3 successes, that gives you 1 point of momentum. You can either spend that to do something. So for example, you're trying to shoot someone with a phaser and your phaser has a severity number, which is the amount of stress someone has to spend to avoid being defeated. You can spend that momentum, or a certain amount of momentum. I don't remember whether it's just 1 or 2, but that'll be in that thing. Where are we? Severity. Okay, that's 2 momentum. So let's say you needed 2, you got 4. You could spend those 2 momentum to increase the severity of that attack by 1 to make it harder for them to avoid being defeated. You could spend it to gain an extra minor action. So, you've moved up, you've attacked, you want to move again. Or you could use it to try to disarm them or to obtain extra information. Or you can put it into the momentum pool. The momentum pool is a maximum 6 momentum, but anyone can pull from that to buy additional dice for their next action, which is incredibly useful, as you may guess. You can also spend threat, and there's no maximum on that. You can always give me threat to do stuff. It's buying trouble for a later point. But the capacity, and to begin with, it's probably worth doing just so you get a momentum pool going in the first place. And then, as I say, determination. Determination is something where your mission will have a certain couple of mission goals. I can't remember the exact word off the top of my head because I lose words. I'll dig them out, make sure I've got it by next time. But also your values. If you've got something that the action you're trying to do matches one of your values, or that mission goal, then you can spend determination to do so getting the one on the dice, re-rolling all the dice, those sorts of things, getting an extra action, extra major action, which is you could attack twice then, for example. That's how that works. And you start with, if I recall correctly, you start with 3 determination at the start of each mission. So it does refresh between missions. I don't know how many missions we're going to get through because it depends on how well you guys handle the stories I'm doing. The first time I ran Imperium Maledictum, there was supposed to be 3 adventures in that 6-session package. And we got to the 5th session and I decided, well, that's the end of that story, but there's not much point in me adding another one at this stage. So we called it there. Although it seemed to work. I'm absolutely shocked at how many views we had for that character creation session, though. Have you looked at that, Roger?
I have not, to be honest.
1.1 thousand views.
Nice.
Character creation. So my mind is boggled on that. It really is. So let's quickly. Okay, I've covered those things. I can ignore those. So, has anybody thought of what their character's called?
Yes.
Okay.
Danny Thatcher.
Ensign Danny Thatcher. Cool. And he is a medic. Anyone else?
Wow.
And okay, so Ensign. How are you spelling that?
N''G-O-W.
G-O-W. Engao.
And except when I'm in trouble, when it's Engao.
Security. In case that becomes important. Nick, Rupert, any thoughts?
I'm just trawling through lists of Vulcan names.
That would not be logical. A Vulcan would know what their name was.
Okay, so are you male or are you female?
Male.
Male. No problems. So example names they've given in the book for male Vulcans are Aravik, Delvolk, Kovar, Murok, Rikan, Salok, Savel, Savek, Skon, Soral, Shutok, Stiran, Kekav, Kolek, or Vedic.
Oh no, I could have Scon. Just
go with Scon and be a bit jammy.
Yeah.
It's actually S-K-O-N, but that's also lower deck. So
sold Scon. The fastest Vulcan you've ever seen, Scon.
How do you want to spell it? Do you want to spell it as in the book S-K-O-N, or you want to go
S-K-O-N, yeah.
S-K-O-N?
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
Scon and science and Vulcan.
Anyone seen the Vulcan? No, they're Scon.
No problem.
No,
Rupert?
I briefly toyed with the idea of giving my Bajoran 2 first names so that no one can work out which way round you're meant to actually say them.
Yeah.
Do
That works.
But I couldn't think of 2 Star Trekky first names, so I just.
If you want to go with what you've got, that's fine. I've also got examples here for you, if you want them.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, so male or female?
Male.
Okay, so Anathis, Edon, Essa, Furel, Gel, Holum, Hovath, Kag, Los, Mabrin, Nalas, Rion, Taban, and Tenan.
What was the third one, sorry?
Third one was Essa, E-double-S-A.
Ooh, yeah. I think Essa, and sorry, what was the last one that began with T? My memory is really bad.
Sorry, Tenan, T-E-N-N-A-N.
T-A-N-N-A-N. And the other one was Essan.
Essa.
Essa.
There's also some family names if you want a family name.
Oh, I thought I would use those 2 because that's 2 first names, so that's great because
happy with that if you
makes
want.
it really difficult for anyone to work out which way round.
So for the ref, which way around should it be?
I'm
going with family name Tenan, first name Essa.
So Tenan Essa, because Bajorans have surname first, personal name last.
Yeah.
Bajoran. Awesome. Right, so I've got that down. Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody have any thoughts? Any things they want to add in?
Should character role say anything? Or is that later?
Character role should be. Oh no, sorry. A character role is something that they added in, which again I do like, but because of it being lower decks, it's not really relevant. So the options they've got are things like chief of security, executive officer, chief tactical officer. So it's realistically it's the bridge crew, which you guys aren't. There's not really any suggestion to bring that down to the lower decker end, as it were.
You could have captain's assistant. Naomi Wildman on it.
Lackeys.
You can do that, but it wouldn't match one of the roles that are there are very much along the lines of the commanding officer gets a role benefit because they're the commanding officer.
Be a random book number 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
So, for example, the commanding officer gets the benefit of you can spend a determination to grant any other character you can communicate with 1 determination. So you can spend one of yours to say, okay, Ensign Scon, have a determination. And the chief medical officer can reduce the momentum cost for medical equipment and medical teams by 1 to a minimum of 0. And they gain bonus momentum in certain circles. Basically, if you're doing assistance, medical stuff with assistants, you gain bonus momentum and stuff like that, which I'm not going to go into the details. Basically, it's something that a normal Star Trek game where bridge crew is normally what you're playing, then those are an add-on, which makes sense. Unfortunately, with lower decks, I don't think it really does. Actually, there are a couple of other things they have forgotten to add on. So you've got your 3. If you look at the top of the character sheet, you see determination. You've got 3 checkboxes. That's how many determination you will start with.
Yeah.
You also get stress. Now, this is not to say you're starting stress because you're stressed. This is the maximum amount of stress you can get before you're defeated. And you can spend these can be used in a number of different ways. Your stress, unless you have a talent that says otherwise, is equal to your fitness attribute.
Sorry, what's this?
This is your stress. So underneath determination and resistance, you've got a thing there. So there's a big box for that, and then you've got the check boxes for as you're taking damage. I would normally sort of do a cross through the ones that are not being used because you're beyond your maximum.
And that's our fitness number, is it?
Yeah, unless you've got a talent that says otherwise. So, and everyone's got their pastime. Has everyone decided what they enjoy? Are you tabletop role players?
Oh my god! Inception.
I went with sword fighting, seeing as I'm from a LARPer planet.
Yeah.
I went with meditation.
No worries.
I went with restoration of
like furniture.
Things. Well, yeah, because famously there's not a lot of original Bajoran stuff left.
I'm just picturing repair shop, but
and Gal probably is a
napping
catnip.
An addict.
Interior herbal gardener, if you don't mind.
No.
Getting high in the corner.
Yeah, no worries. So, let me have a quick shifty at my GM screen to see if there's anything here I think you need to know. Probably not, but it's worth having a quick shifty. That's just starship stuff.
Do we get red lights coming out the bottom of these tricorders?
Not the ones I have made, but
no, I mean the ones that the characters have.
Is the cat going to go for us every time we use one?
I think the medical tripoders have got like a thing that detaches as a sensor, and that'll have a red light on it. But I don't think the normal ones do. I've actually made
Oh, so the medical one's got a red flashy light. Oh god.
It's like a stylus that you pull off the front and then.
Okay, I think I'm going to have to blindfold the cat every time I use it.
Do you get a bonus in that if you shoot someone with a phaser, does that sort of immediately invoke a cat-like attack on the red dot that's momentarily on?
Yeah.
That might be something I might leave to my wife or introduce and say, have a point of momentum or something.
Roll willpower to not immediately maul the thing that's got a red light on it.
One of the things I really liked although I've never played the game, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer role-playing game had a thing where you're in that really spooky cabin in the woods at night. Here is a point of whatever they called it, momentum determination for Star Trek, but fate, whatever it was called.
Resource.
Yeah. You open the trapdoor and go into the basement. Because the plot needs you to do that in order for the story to work. And no role player worth their salt would do that voluntarily, unless it's just because the genre. So, okay. Well, that's characters done. I will handle the starship. We can have a look at doing support characters. Also, if you go to, certainly you can get to it via continuing missions, which is the fan resource website, which is really good. They've actually got stats for this game system to play the Orville, which
I
is
like
really,
that. That's good.
I want to do that at some point. I must do that at some point. But there is a website you can find. I can put the link on because I've got it on in my favorites, which is for creating characters, creating support characters, creating starships, and getting a PDF out at the end of it, which is appropriate for the game. The only thing you won't get is the character sheet that I did for this game, because I actually put that character sheet together because I wanted one that was vaguely Lower Decks themed, because I'm like that. So again, I'll send that link, and if you want to have a play at putting support characters together, we can add those in and put those into the pot. You don't have apart from the crew limit of the ship, which I will try and find out what the number is so we can work out roughly how many support members we can have. That's the maximum number you can have in total, but in per mission you can only have your support rating, which unless you buy a talent is 4 in any mission. So any last minute questions before we finish? I'm going to take that as a no. Cool. So hopefully when this goes out, we'll have an appropriate picture in for Nick, and hopefully next time the camera will be working.
I'll get it. Because my tech guy's not here, because Steve's out.
So thank you for joining me. Thank you for playing, although we didn't play per se, but that'll be next week. And I will look forward to seeing everyone this time next time.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much, Richard.